Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President imposes sanctions on Russia for the first time in his second term, targeting oil companies. Russian President Putin directs drills of nuclear forces as his summit with Trump is put on hold. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to arrive in Israel as the US tries to double down on Gaza ceasefire. US Vice President J.D. Vance reaffirms support for a US brokered ceasefire plan to disarm Hamas and rebuild Gaza. US President warns of very serious action against Colombia, calls Colombian President Gustavo Petro a bad guy. Petro vows to take legal action against Trump. And India faced New Zealand in Navi Mumbai today in what would effectively be a virtual quarter-final of the Women's ODI World Cup. The United States has hit Russia's major oil companies with sanctions on Wednesday and accused the Russians of a lack of commitment towards ending the conflict in Ukraine. The new sanctions were unveiled one day after plans for a summit between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin fell apart. Trump has held off on new sanctions for months, saying that he hoped to persuade Russian President Vladimir Putin to make peace despite growing frustration with the Kremlin leader. Trump said that he hopes that the new Russia oil sanctions will make Putin reasonable.
Today is a very big day in terms of what we're doing. Look, these are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies, and we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled. I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions. It's sanctions on oil. The two biggest oil companies, among the biggest in the world, but they're Russian. They do a lot of oil. And hopefully it'll push, hopefully he'll become reasonable, and hopefully Zelensky will be reasonable too.
President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday oversaw a test of Russia's nuclear forces on land, sea and air to rehearse their readiness and command structure. The test included the launch of a land-based Yars intercontinental ballistic missile from a cosmodrome, the launch of a Sineva ballistic missile from a nuclear submarine in the Barents Sea, and the launch of nuclear-capable cruise missiles from strategic bombers. Meanwhile, Kremlin has released a video showing General Valery Gerasimov, head of the General Staff, reporting to President Putin on the drills. They included practice launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles, which are capable of striking the US. Crude oil prices spiked over 2% on Thursday after Donald Trump said that he would hit two Russian oil companies with hefty sanctions. Talks that the White House was planning curbs on software exports to China added to gloom on markets. Both main oil contracts jumped almost 3%, having climbed more than 2% on Tuesday. On to West Asia now. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will visit Israel on Thursday. This will be Rubio's fourth visit to Israel since taking office in January. Marco Rubio said on Wednesday that the United States would still like to meet with Russia after U.S. President Donald Trump cancelled his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest. Rubio also said that the Israeli Knesset's move towards the annexation of West Bank would threaten President Trump's plan to end the conflict in Gaza.
Well, we'd still like to meet with the Russians. We still want to, and I think I had a good call with Foreign Minister Lavrov, and we'll follow up on that. We're always going to be interested in engaging if there's an opportunity to achieve peace. I think the president has said repeatedly for a number of months now that at some point he will have to do something if we don't make progress on the peace deal. Today was the day he decided to do something. That's a vote in the Knesset, but obviously I think the president's made clear that's not something we'd be supportive of right now, and we think it's even threatening to the peace deal. So they're a democracy; they're going to have their votes. People are going to take these positions, but at this time, it's something that we think it might be counterproductive.
Rubio's comments at Joint Base Andrews came after the U.S. imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. According to the official, Rubio's visit will focus on supporting the successful implementation of Washington's ceasefire plan in Gaza. It follows the visits of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to the country this week. According to a statement from the State Department, Rubio will be in Israel until Saturday, before then visiting Malaysia, Japan and South Korea. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Israel's top leaders, reaffirming support for a U.S.-brokered ceasefire plan to disarm Hamas and rebuild Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu voiced strong opposition to Turkey's involvement in Gaza security. A joint U.S.-Israel coordination center is now monitoring the truce and aid delivery. With U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio set to arrive on Thursday, Washington, D.C. is stepping up regional diplomacy.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and other key officials are in Israel to support a U.S.-brokered ceasefire plan aimed at disarming Hamas, recovering bodies of hostages, and rebuilding Gaza. As part of visit, Vance met with Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Prime Minister said these are days of destiny, and we're very excited to sit down and work together on the Gaza peace plan. We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza to make life better for the people in Gaza, but also to ensure that Hamas is no longer a threat to our friends in Israel. That's not easy. I think the Prime Minister knows that as well as anybody, but it's something that we're committed to in the Trump administration, and I think we've, even in the past 24 hours,
Vance emphasized the challenge of improving life in Gaza while ensuring Hamas no longer poses a threat to Israel. U.S. and Israeli forces have opened a civil-military coordination center to monitor the truce and oversee humanitarian aid. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, signaled a strong opposition to Turkey's involvement in a proposed international force to oversee the ceasefire.
When it comes to Israel's security, we do what we have to do. Right? That's always the case. That's not a question, but America has an interest in a strong Israel, as you just heard from the Vice President, and Israel has an interest in a strong America. America has other interests in this region. Where we can be flexible to accommodate that, that's good, because a strong America is in our interest.
The plan includes an international security force to maintain peace as Israel withdraws, though no U.S. troops will enter Gaza. Turkey's possible role in the force has sparked Israeli concern. Despite recent violence, Vance expressed optimism that the ceasefire will hold. Later, Vice President Vance also met with President Herzog to discuss the broader peace initiative led by President Donald Trump. Herzog expressed optimism while Vance acknowledged ongoing challenges but said he remained hopeful for lasting peace, citing support from both Israel and Gulf Arab nations.
And I truly believe that the fact you're here is another brick in building the future for peace.
Despite continued ceasefire violation and tensions over aid delivery and hostage returns, the next phase of Trump plan requires more difficult steps, including Hamas disarmament and progress toward a Palestinian state commitment that have yet to be secured. Bureau Report, DD India.
The U.S. military killed 2 alleged drug smugglers in a strike against a vessel in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday. The strike is the first known U.S. military operation in the Pacific since President Donald Trump started a new military offensive against the drug trade. This attack has expanded the Trump administration's use of the military in its counter-narcotics campaign. This has led to at least 7 strikes in the Caribbean and dramatically raised U.S. tensions with Venezuela and Colombia. The strike brings the total number to at least 8, leaving at least 34 people dead. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said that the vessel was known by American intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling. was transiting along a known narco-trafficking transit route and carrying narcotics. US President Donald Trump and his Colombian counterpart Gustavo Petro traded angry garbs on Wednesday. Trump said his administration had the legal authority to carry out strikes on vessels near Venezuela that are transporting drugs, but the administration may go back to Congress if it decides to start hitting targets on land. Trump also told reporters that he may take very serious action against Colombia due to its role in the international narcotics trade. Trump branded Petro a thug and suggested that he was a drug trafficker leading his country to ruin. He also called Colombian President Gustavo Petro a bad guy.
Well, he's a thug and bad guy. He's a guy that is making a lot of drugs. We've just, as of today, stopped all payments going to Colombia, the country Colombia. Also, the school Colombia. No, we settled. We made a settlement with him. But no, he's a thug. And he's a bad guy, and he's hurt his country very badly. They're doing very poorly, Colombia. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They grow all sorts of crap that's drugs, bad drugs coming into the United States, goes generally through Mexico. And he better watch it or we'll take very serious action against him and his country. His country is, what he has led his country into is a death trap.
Meanwhile, Colombian President Gustavo Petro announced that he will take legal action in U.S. courts after President Trump called him a bad guy and threatened serious action against Colombia over drug trafficking. In a post on X, Petro said that he would defend himself in court against the slanderous accusations made against him in the United States by high-ranking officials. The escalating tensions came as Trump told reporters at the White House that he was suspending all payments to Colombia due to its role in the international narcotics trade. In mid-September, Trump decertified Colombia's counter-narcotics efforts, claiming that the country failed to meet its obligations over the past year. The National Citizens Party of Bangladesh on Wednesday raised serious concerns about the impartiality of the Election Commission, calling for the entire body to be reconstituted ahead of the upcoming national elections. During a meeting with Muhammad Yunus, chief advisor of the interim government, NCP convener Nahid Islam alleged that the formation and the current operations of the EC lack transparency and independence. The NCP accused the EC of bias, citing preferential treatment of certain political parties in the registration of symbols and motivational support through administrative channels. The party further claimed that recent postings of deputy commissioners and police superintendents were influenced by political interests, thereby affecting electoral neutrality. The NCP party demanded a clear timeline for justice pertaining to the families of martyrs and the injured in the 2024 July uprising, warning that without broader institutional reform, the electoral process would not be credible. You're watching Did India Live, still to come on the show. The filing of nominations for the second phase of assembly elections in Bihar to end today.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is, we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome back. You're watching Did India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. President Draupadi Murmu unveiled the bust of former President of India, K.R. Narayanan, at Raj Bhavan in Thiruvananthapuram today in the presence of former President Ramnath Kovind, Governor of Kerala Rajendra Vishwanath Araikar, Governor of Bihar Arif Mohammad Khan, Kerala Chief Minister and other dignitaries. Speaking on the occasion, the President said that K.R. Narayan's life is a story of courage, perseverance and self-belief. She also said that former President was deeply connected to his roots even after reaching the highest office of the country.
I am happy to be present here among you all today to pay tribute to the former President of India, late Sri K.R. Narayan. Sri Narayan was an eminent statesman, diplomat and scholar. I consider it an honor to unveil the bust of late Sri K.R. Narayan here at Raj Bhavan today. I would like to thank Sri Ramnath Kovindji, former President of India, under whose guidance this initiative has been taken. I am sure that his memory will inspire people to uphold the values of equality, integrity and public service that he stood for. Late Sri K.R. Narayan's life is a story of courage, perseverance and self-belief.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a warm and cordial conversation with Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister Modi extended heartfelt congratulations to Prime Minister Ibrahim on Malaysia's assumption of the ASEAN chairmanship. He conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of the upcoming ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. Prime Minister Modi also expressed his interest in joining the ASEAN-India summit virtually and reaffirmed India's commitment to further strengthening the ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. Chief Minister of the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh, N. Chandrababu Naidu, is on a 3-day visit to the UAE. He addressed the CII Partnership Summit roadshow event in Dubai, highlighting the state's growth vision. Naidu invited global industry leaders to attend the 30th edition of the CII Partnership Summit in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, on November 14th and 15th. He showcased the state as a prime investment destination backed by 24 sector-specific policies and fast-track approvals. He also outlined plans to develop Andhra Pradesh into a global logistics hub and boost tourism through new circuits and parks. In his address, Naidu expressed confidence in India's rise as a leading global economy by 2047, with Andhra Pradesh playing a key role in that vision.
Before coming to Visakhapatnam, you have to prepare one MOU, or if you send proposals, you'll get it sanctioned. With proposals, I am requesting to all of you, Dubai, UAE, you are doing extremely well. I really appreciate you. You cannot ignore India. Lot of opportunities in India. I am 100% confident by 2047. India will be #1 economy.
Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal will be on an official visit to Germany from today to strengthen economic and trade partnership with Germany. The visit will mark a key milestone in enhancing India's engagement with the nation, as the year 2025 marks the 25th anniversary of India-Germany strategic partnership. During the visit, Goyal will hold high-level bilateral meetings with German Economic Affairs and Energy Minister Katharina Raikkonen. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry said that the discussions during the meeting will focus on strengthening the dynamic Indo-German economic partnership and exploring new avenues for enhanced trade and investment cooperation. Goyal will also participate in the 3rd edition of Berlin Global Dialogue as a speaker. The minister added that during the visit, a series of one-on-one meetings with CEOs of leading German companies will be held. Further, the minister will also chair a roundtable with CEOs and leaders of German Mittelstand companies. He is also scheduled to hold a bilateral meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister of Luxembourg, Xavier Bettel, to discuss the strengthening of bilateral trade ties. On the sidelines of the 16th UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal held a series of high-level meetings to strengthen India's global partnerships in trade, innovation and sustainable growth. Piyush Goyal met with Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, Darren Tang, marking 50 years of India WIPO collaboration and exploring opportunities in India's innovation and intellectual property ecosystem. He's also engaged, he also engaged with the Director General of the WTO, N.O. Iweala, emphasizing India's commitment to rules-based multilateral trading system and willingness to work with the World Trade Organization to expand global trade. Piyush Goyal also held discussions with Executive Vice President for Clean, Just and Competitive Transition, Teresa Ribera, European Union Commission, to discuss enhanced India-EU cooperation aimed at shared prosperity and sustainable growth. Further, Goyal held discussions with EU Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maros Sefcovic, focusing on the positive resolution of outstanding issues regarding the India-EU Free Trade Agreement ahead of his upcoming Brussels visit. Back home, the doors of Kedarnath Temple were formally closed for the winter season on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time, following complete religious rituals, Vedic chanting, prayers and traditional ceremonies. The process of closing the temple doors began early in the morning at 4 a.m. with a special worship session. After the doors were closed, the Panchmukhi Utsav Doli, carrying the idol of Lord Kedarnath, departed from the Kedarnath Dham for Omkareshwar Temple in Ukhimat. The Doli of Baba Kedarnath, blessing devotees along the way, will make its first night halt at Rampur and the second night halt at Kashi Vishwanath Temple, Gupta Kashi, before reaching Ukhimat Omkareshwar Temple on October 25th, where a grand welcome for the Baba will be held. Lord Kedarnath will remain enshrined there for the next 6 months. And next, we take a look at other stories making news in India today. The filing of nominations for the second phase of assembly elections in Bihar will end today. Out of a total 243 seats, 122 constituencies spread over 20 districts will go to polls in this phase on 11th of November. So far, a total of 1,066 nomination papers have been filed by candidates from various political parties as well as independents for the second phase. Today is also last date for withdrawal of candidature for the first phase of assembly elections. 4 notorious criminals from Bihar were shot dead in an encounter during a joint operation by Delhi Police Crime Branch and Bihar Police in Rohini. The operation took place in Begumpur area of Rohini in Delhi after police received information that Bihar's wanted gangster Ranjan Pathak and his associates were arriving there. The joint team laid a trap leading to multiple rounds of firing from both the sides. In exchange, Ranjan Pathak and his 3 accomplices were killed on the spot. The wait is almost over for one of India's most vibrant and soulful festivals, the Chhath Puja. As the sun begins to soften and the air fills with devotion, preparations for this 4-day celebration of faith and gratitude are in full swing. Starting October 25th, devotees will honor sun god Surya and Chhati Maiya through rituals like Nahai Khai, Karna and offering Aragya to the setting and rising sun. From decorating ghats to preparing thikwa, every corner is glowing with festive spirit. And continuing with the festivities, people across the country are celebrating Bhai Dooj with great enthusiasm today. The festival beautifully symbolizes the unbreakable bond between brothers and sisters. On this special day, sisters perform tilak rituals, offer sweets and coconuts and pray for their brothers' long life and happiness. In Ayodhya, devotees took a holy dip in the Saryu river at the Jamtura Ghat, performed rituals and immersed Lakshmi Ganesh idols, marking the festival with devotion and tradition. And on to some sporting action now. First updates from cricket. Opener Rohit Sharma and Shreyas Iyer revived the Indian innings after early jolts in the second one-day international against Australia in Adelaide on Thursday. The duo slammed half centuries and added 118 runs for the third wicket after India was reduced to 17 runs for the loss of 2 wickets. India have reached over 215 runs in 43 overs. Earlier, Xavier Bartlett removed Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli in the 7th over of the innings. Kohli was dismissed for a duck for the second match in a row. To add to their woes, the men in blue have recorded their lowest power play total since 2023. Australia lead the 3-match series 1-0, having won the first ODI in Perth by 7 wickets. And in women's cricket, India versus New Zealand face-off in the Women's Cricket World Cup in Navi Mumbai on Thursday has become a virtual quarter-final. 3 teams have qualified for the semi-finals. The 4th spot is up for grabs, and the winner of this match will move closer to booking the last spot in the final 4. So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can download our DD India mobile app for news and updates from India and the world. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.